Hello there, Capricorn. Welcome to your monthly forecast. This is for the month of May, and I can't wait to see what kind of information is coming through for you over the course of this month. I just want to quickly remind everybody that you can use this for your sun, your rising, and for your moon signs. And if there's somebody that you love in your life and you want to see what's going on so you can support them, you can also watch it on their behalf. Don't worry if you don't happen to know all three of those things, your sun, your rising, and your moon. You can just stick with what sign you were born under and you'll get more than enough information by tuning into that video. Now, if you are one of my returning visitors here, I just want to say thank you so much. Your continued support is what keeps this channel alive and ticking, and I appreciate you. If anybody's brand new, a big warm welcome to you as well. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Ashbaugh, and each and every month I take a look at what's coming through for each sign and I separate the forecast in a few parts. Let me go through that before we get started. The first part is a channeled message. To get this, I meditate on the cards and just see what comes through from intuition alone. After that, I move along to a Celtic cross, and finally, I extend the forecast to look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. If after watching this video you really enjoy what you saw, then I encourage you to share this with friends, family, and possibly even give back. At the very end, I'll give some more information on how to do that. I'm also going to put some of it here in the lower third here, but I know you really want to listen to the forecast, so without any additional delay, let's get into the channeled information for this month. Each and every month, I select a deck of cards and meditate. This is how I arrive at that channeled information that I spoke about just a moment ago. For you, this month, as I did this, I received a few images and also a feeling in my body. The image that I saw was someone that was kind of racing to a finish line. I could hear a clicking of an old-fashioned analog clock in my head. And I channeled the following information. I said, first and foremost, don't rush. Try to be present and enjoy the process. Enjoy the day-to-day activities and events that are going on in your life. And it really doesn't matter at which stage of life you are, whether you're young and in school, whether you're working or retired. Sometimes we're always looking forward to the next thing, the next big event, the next big party, graduation, getting a raise, whatever it is. And we take for granted just what it is to be here right now, the people around us that are helping us, the experiences that we're having. And if there's something in that is making you sort of unhappy, then it's time to recalibrate and think, am I either just not being appreciative of all of the blessings, or is it truly not compatible with what I want to be doing on the planet? If it's something bigger, like you're in the wrong job or the wrong relationship, or you wish that you were doing something just different, living a different life or living in a different place, whatever it is, if there's something that's off caliber or off kilter a little bit with you, then you can take this month to recalibrate. Otherwise, slow down, take a day off, enjoy the time, thank somebody in your life that's making all of this possible. Because I'm sure you've experienced that, sometimes after you've left a job, when you've graduated, if you've done something big in your life and you look back, you think that really was kind of awesome and I miss those people and we had some good times. Today, I want you to imagine that you're kind of coming from the future in a time machine, looking at your life and think, what would you do to just have some fun and celebrate who you are, how you are right now, knowing that you're coming back and this is your younger self. Make today count is basically what I'm saying. Originally, I was going to write down cosmic timing, but it's not about that. It's about not rushing, being present, and enjoying today. The cosmic timing piece is that you have to trust that final outcome that you have, it's going to happen exactly when it needs to happen. And this month, at least, is not about rushing. It's about cherishing what's here, and it's about making sure that you're happy with the trajectory in which you are kind of like headed. And as we look at the cards today, it can be a gut check for you, and you can decide, do I like where I'm headed? The Destiny card will especially help you with that, and that'll be the last card that we pull in the extended forecast, so definitely stick around for that. With that being said, let's take a look now at the Celtic cross. I'm going to turn the camera down. I'll remain quiet as I pull the cards because I receive information as I look at the spread and as I touch each card. So afterwards, I will pull the cards up and we'll break it down and see what's going on for you this month. In your catalyst position, we have the Queen of Swords. Let me talk about the catalyst for a second. The catalyst is a connective thread for everything. It really helps you accentuate or activate certain possibilities in your life. And just like in chemistry, it can sort of speed things up or slow them down or create some sort of a reaction. For you this month, there is power and also caution in your ability to communicate. The Queen of Swords in reverse usually indicates someone being very direct, cutting straight to the point, and getting something done. I think there's great skill, power, and importance in doing that from time to time. Just remember that when you're direct, you have to put yourself in the shoes of the person receiving that comment, and make sure that you temper it on some levels. I think that we get what we put out into the universe, so the kinder we are to others, even if we have to say something that's difficult, the more likely that when it comes around and it's in our court that we're going to receive that same kindness. So be tactful, be kind, and be direct. These aren't mutually exclusive qualities, and I think this month, if you can combine them, you're really going to be setting yourself up for success, and you're going to be helping people around you. Sometimes you actually do need to hear things just as they are, but there are several ways that you can say it, so choose your words carefully, and I think that's what's going to make the difference on how it's received by others. One final message is coming through with the catalyst. I also think it's important to go to the source. You notice this looks like it's a bird or an owl actually in this particular deck that's flying. When I see this, a lot of times when I see birds in some of the spirit decks that I have, it has to do with word of mouth or communication that gets kind of spread along the chain, like that old game of telephone. And so if you hear something negative, since the Queen was in reverse on this, go to the source. And that's really what I saw when I looked at this card. And just clarify. You could go to someone and without being combative say, hey, I understand you have some questions about this. Walk me through your thoughts. So before even making them feel like you're angry or not angry, you give them a chance to communicate it straight to you. And if they were doing something that wasn't right, they're going to have to kind of figure out how to fix it really quickly. It's a clever way to sort of let them know, I know what you said, but I'm giving you a chance to fix it. And they probably won't do it again, okay? So you can be direct too, and you can say a lot without saying a lot, if you know what I'm saying. All right, let's look at your center card here. We have the Six of Swords in reverse. The Six of Swords has to do with needing some time to yourself, particularly when it's introspective or reversed like this. I feel like some of you are in this period where there's a lot of processing going on, maybe emotionally, maybe you just need some time and space to get your energy back to where it is. So do yourself a favor. If you have any vacation time saved up, or if you just have an opportunity to steal away and go to the library or go to the beach or spend some time by yourself somewhere where you can recharge, I think you're going to be very much appreciative and also kind of like benefited by this experience. This can also show delays in travel, so be careful. Make sure that you have a return policy if you're booking anything. Make sure that if you're trying to meet someone across town that you have the right location and the right time. And if you're dealing with anybody on an international level, that you've sort of figured out the time zone differences and that there's no area of confusion when that happens. The Six of Swords is crossed by the Green Man, which is also the Fool card in most decks. What I like about both the Fool and the Green Man illustration here is that this is all about renewal, about new opportunity, about having some fun, which is important. I mentioned in the channeled message that you really need to sort of be a little bit more present, enjoy the process. If you look really closely at this illustration, you'll see the Fool kind of playing around with his friends, dancing around a little bit. Don't be afraid to move or to get out in nature, because you couldn't get a more nature-based Fool card if you tried. But even in the traditional Rider-Waite card, you'll notice that the Fool is walking outside, taking a hike, taking a walk, enjoying the surroundings. I think one thing that would be beneficial for you is a change of scenery, something that I was talking about right at the center, and it's really backed up with this particular card as well. This is also a time to start new things. If you've been thinking of trying a new exercise routine, a new diet, deciding that this might be a month to move or to travel, all of these things are really supported by this card. Feel free to make a change this month, especially one you've been thinking about for a while. It's time to activate, it's time to do that. As we look at your distant past here, we have the Six of Pentacles card, which is in reverse. And the Six of Pentacles card really encourages you to make good choices when it comes to sometimes limited resources. And this is a very interesting illustration because you'll notice that this person has their fingers crossed here. And as I look at it a little closer, it's not the person that's actually giving the money away that's doing it, it's someone else. So what I want you to do is to really think about where you want to invest your time and energy. If something looks or feels too good to be true this month, assume that it is. Do a little bit more research, ask around. There may be someone that isn't giving you the full picture, and that's what this portion of the illustration is showing. So vet everything out, and then be honest with yourself. I think that's the other piece. Sometimes we think we can do something, and we really know that we're either going to be too tired, or it's going to cost too much money, or it's just the wrong time. So if you're faced with an RSVP and you want to say yes, but you know you can't do it, just say no. Remember the Queen of Swords, being direct, being honest, doing it sooner than later, and then not sort of putting any artifice around it. That would be the key here. So resources, maybe a little bit tight, but you're going to be able to get by. And the key thing for you is to be honest, because what I see is there's going to be an opening with your time, your energy, and your money. So you want to be ready for that. And if you overcommit, when this Ace of Pentacles comes along, you may miss an opportunity. And that's why it's always better to be truthful with yourself and truthful with others. That being said, the Ace of Pentacles is a fantastic card. It's coming through in recent past, so there may be a little bit of overflow between last month and this month, and you may be sorting through some of the changes that have happened because of an Ace of Pentacles event that is currently kind of completing in your life. This could be a new job, a new relationship, or you have an idea that you want to put your time and energy into. Again, you connect that with the Six of Pentacles, and it boils down to choices on your part. As we look at your crowning card this month, it's a time for you to really develop things, and some of you want to even possibly kind of go into research and brainstorming. The Seven of Cups is not always a decisive card. It's about thinking about all of the options in front of you before you go down a particular path. If you're young and you're looking for colleges, this card pops up when you have to make a decision between them, or if you're doing that initial research. It can also be something that you do when you're trying to find a place to rent or a place to buy, or just any big decision in your life. So one thing that I will say is that this month it looks like you could kind of get in that rabbit hole a little bit too far, and you want to be careful. It might be good to bounce your ideas off someone who tells it exactly like it is. This Queen of Swords could be a person in your life that is not afraid to sort of just say, hey, this is what I think, this is what you should do. Just remember that you ultimately get to make that decision, but yes, spend some time, enjoy that part of it, because one thing that I said was don't rush, be present, enjoy the process. So if you're kind of researching it, and if you're visiting all these potential places that you could go to school, that you could live, that you could study, etc., you want to just really feel that out and have fun with that. I know it can be tedious sometimes, but there's a part of that that also only happens once in a while, so enjoy. As we look at near future, we have the King of Wands. This is a really great card for you, particularly because I'm going to jump ahead. Your outcome is the world. And so with the two of these, what I'm seeing now is you will be able to make up your mind. You are going to have some great decision-making ability that comes in, and it may not be until the very last week of the month. I would say the last 7 to 10 days. So give yourself that time that you need to make the decision, and then ultimately you're going to be okay. You're not going to have to rush. It's going to feel natural to you. The King of Wands was upright, so I don't have to really warn you about being too sort of closed-minded. I think the combination of Seven of Cups and the King of Wands means that if anything, you're too open-minded this month, and it will be better for you to narrow the focus as you get closer and closer to the last day of the month. So give yourself time to play, enjoy that process, and then as you get around the 21st up until the very last day, this is when you can start to get into that decision-making ability. When I look at your ego this month, I get a feeling of isolation here. We have the Nine of Swords, which often can show things like a lack of sleep or not feeling rested even if you get enough sleep. Sometimes having fears and doubts creep up when you're trying to rest or just you have that quiet time. But when I couple that with the Six of Swords, which was reversed, this can mean that some of you need to get out and be around people. And I think that's why your center card was crossed by the Fool, which was really encouraging you just to have some fun, not take yourself so seriously, and not worry so much about these things. The reversal in the Nine of Swords here is telling me that things are either going to improve or they may not be as bad as you think. You might be stressing a little bit too much. And so talk to somebody, talk to a friend, talk to a loved one, or to a professional, and get some of these fears and frustrations out. See if you have something that's worth being concerned about or if it is just anxiety. And again, I keep going back to that Queen of Swords. It feels like you need someone to just tell you like it is what's going on. So again, it could be one of those mentors that we just talked about. Just make sure that you're not taking all of this in and internalizing it like I was talking about earlier, because this could lead to a longer term problem, something that manifests in your health, and you really don't want that. At the very least, it could just be aches and pains or your neck sort of getting all tightened. And I think that what's important this month is to try to get an outlet, some sort of stress relief or a massage, or just getting a change of scenery, as we said earlier. But being separated or on your own too much could also be something that you want to be careful of. So be forewarned and do what feels best for you. In the meantime, let's move on to the next card. In your environment card, we have the King of Swords. Now, I often see two of the same suit as a partnership opportunity or a challenge, and we saw one of them reverse, one of them upright. So there could be some communication issues coming up with someone that you really care about this month, and that's something that you might have to resolve. And we've talked a lot about how you could do that earlier today. I actually see two sets of couples here. We have the King of Wands and the Knight of Wands, and again we had the King of Swords and the Queen of Swords. So there could be two couples that are kind of intermixing this month, and not everyone's getting along because I see two of the partners upright and then their spouses or their friends in the reverse. So be careful this month if you're trying to have a party and mix a lot of different people from different backgrounds, like work and social and school. That may not sort of work out the way you want it to. You as a host, if you're going to do some sort of event, will just have to work a little bit harder to try to help people find the right, the right mix of people so that they can have a good time. You can also just make peace with the fact that you're never going to please everybody, and if you're throwing an event or party, you're going to try to focus on your key participants or whoever it is that's really most important at that particular event, especially if it's a business function. The other thing that I'm seeing here is that there could be two relationships that are sort of intermixing, and you might be running into exes or you might be running into people that you haven't talked to in a while. So this is where I think that communication could be sort of direct or a little bit off a bit. So just feel that out, do what is best for you at that particular juncture, and realize, again, you're not always going to make everybody happy, and that's unfortunately just the way it is. Way back when I was a kid, I had a teacher remind me of this. They said, you're going to have to start to make some choices. If you try to make everyone happy, there's only three things that will happen. One, it probably won't work out the way you want it to. Two, you won't be happy and the people around you won't. And three, you're going to lose respect from people around you because you lack that decisiveness. So do what is best. Make some good decisions, be honest with yourself. Saying no is okay, especially if you open yourself up for something that does make sense and is a good use of your time. And when you sort of navigate this complicated mix of what's right, saying no to some people, saying yes to the right people, and kind of at the end of the month feeling like, I understand now how all these puzzle pieces fit together, it'll be worth it. It's just difficult when you're going through it. So I see a lot of people coming through this month, and I think some of you may just be overthinking what you have to do. So trust your intuition and don't get lost in that second thought or that doubt that you might be sort of feeling coming up, and I understand it. The King of Swords in the environment is also saying that your communication skills are on point this month. You're going to be great at written, oral, and nonverbal communication. Just remember what I said to basically tailor it to the audience at hand, and remember how it might be for them to sort of receive this, and then you can use the right gestures, the right words, the right timing to make sure that this is received properly. When I'm looking in hopes and fears, it's actually coming through more as a fear or an obstacle, and with the Knight of Wands in reverse, this could mean a delay or a no from somebody else on something that you're trying to get done. That's okay, because your outcome card is the World Tree or the World card. For many of you, this means that you're going to have this big breakthrough but it may be delayed by a month or two, and that's not a big deal because the eventuality of it is still there. And I think there's a blessing somewhere in this as well, because you might be avoiding something. I talked to another sign about that, and I think it holds true for you as well. The World card can indicate publishing, distribution, travel, engaging with a person or an entity that has a global outreach as well. There's something big and expansive that wants to kind of come into your life this particular month, I would even say this year, because you have two cards here that show like a breakthrough. You have, they're at two different ends too. So I feel like you're going to be wrapping up and beginning a new cycle. The Fool here is crossing the center, which is saying, hey, change is going to happen. It's just about around the corner. And we see that change knocking on the door at the very end of the month. So right after the World tree, right after the World is the Fool, or the Green Man in this deck. So I see a confirmation, if you need it, that something that you're trying to complete will get completed, will find the audience, will be successful. But this month is about finishing things up. Some of you are going to have to navigate some sort of a hierarchy. And that's why I saw about 4 different individuals. A couple of them seem like allies. We have a King of Wands and a King of Swords, both upright, that seem to understand your point of view. Then we have some criticism coming from a Queen of Swords and a Knight of Wands, both of them reversed. So just be open to the feedback. You don't have to make a decision right off the bat, and that's really what we're seeing with the 7 of Cups here in the crowning position. You will be able to do it, and I do think it will be a lot easier towards the very end of the month. So you're on the right path. It just takes a little bit more work than maybe you anticipated to get to that end goal. The other thing that I'm seeing for you too is there's a desire or an opportunity for you to travel this month. The Fool, the 6 of Swords, and the World. It's all about getting out of where you're at and going and reaching far off places. So I don't know if some of you have been thinking of traveling, or again, maybe publishing or distributing something so that people from afar can see it, but that's what's coming through. So you have this potential to kind of break through in a different place, a different market, a different country. So for some of you, I hope that happens if that's a goal that you're trying to bring to fruition. Let's go ahead now and expand the forecast. We're going to look at health, wealth, love, and destiny, and we'll get some additional insight into some of these areas that we've already talked about. I'd like to start off with health. This is something that includes mind, body, and spirit. In your health card, we have acceptance, and acceptance can come through when you have to deal with some of those changes that we were talking about, as represented by the Fool and the World card. So there may be a change in how you have to eat, how you have to live, or you could be receiving some information that's difficult for you to process and that you might need to sort of figure out, what does this mean to me? And there may be a little bit of resistance too with that too. It's important for you to find a place where you are comfortable, you feel empowered, and then you can sort of process and accept this news in a way that you are okay with. And so take your time this month, and this is where I feel like even a second opinion could be beneficial. I saw many people coming in and out this month, and I think that if you don't accept or you can't sort of make peace with what's coming through, hearing it from a few people and talking to a few people could assist you in this particular area. And the other piece of this, I think, has to do with accepting who you are, what you want to do, and sort of working on your own sense of self-love and self-confidence. Normally, I would see that in the love area, but I think that it's healthy to work on that sort of self-worth in your health area. It makes sense because how you feel and how you love yourself is going to trickle into all parts of your life, particularly your health. So work on that as well, feeling good about who you are, where you're at in your life, where you are in your body, and if there's something that you need help with, don't be afraid to ask. Let's go ahead now and take a look at wealth. This isn't just money, but it's going to look at your opportunities, how you feel about them, and we might even be dealing with some of that acceptance or self-worth in here as well. So let's see what the cards have to say. So we have an interesting message here in your wealth area. It's about purification. Now, from just a wealth perspective, this means clearing things out that are no longer suiting you. This could be old investments, debts, any sort of things in your life that you're just kind of holding on to, even stuff around the house that you no longer feel that you need. It says it's time for a detoxification of your body and mind. It's interesting that we see the overlap between health and wealth. I said earlier that sometimes those messages can be complementary. There's almost a flip-flop this month, and what I think is coming through this for you is, for those of you that are not feeling happy about where you're working or what's going on in your money situation, it's manifesting itself in a way that it's difficult for you to be and to accept and to sort of live in that way of being anymore. So there's a chance to break free, to either get to something where you feel more respect, more abundance, more love, and then ultimately that's a feeling of purification. Finally, you're in a place where everything is starting to come into focus. The other thing is, I think it's important to take these messages from the wealth area and apply them to health. Look at what you're eating, how you're spending your time, what you're doing, and clear all of this out. And by doing that, you're going to be healthier and wealthier. The two of these, there's a lot of overlap, and I don't think it's accidental. I want you to look at your work situation this month and your health situation and see, is the stress that I'm feeling, which was showing up here with the Nine of Swords, is it manifesting itself into my health, in my health area rather? And is the money that I'm making or the opportunities that I'm experiencing are they worth this sort of a trade-off? If they are, then you're going to have to find a way to heal yourself. But if they aren't, and that's usually the case when these cards are arranged like this, then find a way to figure out how you can reduce stress, say no, push back, and possibly look for something that's going to equate to more happiness, more stability, and more importantly, more health and wealth in your life. So I feel like one area of your life is affecting the other, and it's more about the trade-off. And when we look at Six of Pentacles, which was one of the earliest cards that we talked about, sometimes when you make more, you're not enjoying it. Sometimes when you make less, but you have more time, more energy, more sort of connection with your family, that could be sort of considered a raise because you're healthier. So you may have this trade-off this month, some of you, that will create less money but more life quality. And that's a choice that you'll have to make. The rest of you, I think there's just some balance that has to occur, and you'll have to navigate that this month so that you can be happier. And hopefully that makes sense for you. Let's move along now to relationships. This is the love card. It's not just about relationships with someone that you are married to or a partner with. It's also about how you feel about giving and receiving love. So let's give the cards a shuffle and see what information is going to come through in this area of your life. As we look at your love message this month, it's saying trust how you feel. The caption on this simply says there's a strong magnetic attraction here. The word that matters and the thing that matters here is chemistry. You can't force it. You can set everything up and hope that things work out, but at the end of the day, either you're going to feel it or you're not, and likewise for the other person. In the realm of business, which I was talking about much earlier, there may be something where you're trying to get different sides to agree. This month, I believe that there are some things that are just meant to happen or not happen, so don't force it. If you're being set up by someone and you're going out on a blind date, if you don't feel it, don't fake it. Don't go out on a second date. Trust it. If it does feel good, then celebrate that and take advantage of it. The main thing that's going to be necessary, we have to match the chemistry card with the Queen of Swords in reverse. Be direct and be honest with what you feel. If you allow for that honesty and this true feeling to kind of intersect, then it's going to be okay. Whether it's a difficult conversation, like I feel like it's time for us to move on, or quitting a job, or whatever it is that you're going to say, or that brave situation where you walk up to someone and ask them out or whatever. This is where something positive will happen because you're either letting go or creating something new. The two different ends of the energy for this month. You're going to have a little bit of both, and it could be exciting or it could be intimidating, but wow, it's going to create some cool changes for you. So honor what you truly feel, Don't try to talk yourself out of it. Don't try to think yourself into it, okay? Let's go ahead now and take a look at your Destiny card. Destiny for me is a GPS. It will either give you some confirmation that you're headed in the right direction, or it's going to give you that push that you need to make a change. So let's give the cards a shuffle and see what's coming through for Destiny. Your card was reversed. Let's turn it upright here. We have rebirth as the main energy. It says spring equinox. What's important for you to realize is there's a new cycle happening. I know that many of us have already gone through the spring equinox. What I'm seeing for many of you is that the next spring cycle, from this year to next year, this is going to be a period of change for many of you. And it's marked by a chance for moving, for new beginnings, new jobs, which we saw here, and a chance to hopefully move out of that stressful information and environments that we were seeing before. So you basically have a chance now to recreate. Whenever I see death, rebirth, the tower, anything like that in reverse, it means that there are some decisions at hand that you get to play an active role and an active part in. This is the exciting and the intimidating thing for the year ahead for you. And it doesn't have to happen overnight. And I think that's why we get a card of spring, which is happening and already happened. And I'm seeing spring to spring for many of you. So don't rush. Be present, enjoy that process, and figure out what the changes are that you want to make, when you want to make them, and start to get a long-term vision of what's happening for you. Sometimes we just kind of amble around and try to figure things out, and it works sometimes. I think the message for you is, beginning now, I want you to start to think 1, 2, maybe even 3 years ahead and set some goals. If you've already done it, good, and that's perfect, stick to that. If you haven't, this is a wake-up call and a chance for you to start to do that, because when you have that vision and that focus on where you want to be, then the universe can start to show up. Then the choices that you make start to become easier because you can weigh them against the long-term goal. Let's go ahead now and review everything we talked about, and then we'll do a closing message in just a few minutes. Your channeled message this month is to enjoy the process, try to be present and not rush. We talked about having that 2 or 3 year plan. This is going to help you complete your goals and also create some of the changes necessary in your life. So once you have that focus, everything is going to fall into place. This month is going to be very important to be direct, but also to pick the appropriate time, the appropriate words, and remember that there is a person at the other end of that message. This will help you soften when necessary, remembering that, again, it doesn't mean that you have to be cruel to be direct. You can be kind, you can be gentle, and you can also be direct. The center card is showing that many of you may be wanting to pull back a little bit. I think that's fine, but there is a cautionary note with that you eventually need to kind of resurface and come out of that hermit phase. We saw the 9 of Swords as well connecting to this, saying that if you spend too much time thinking too much, that you could sort of go down a rabbit hole, as I said, and potentially make things worse than they need to be. The green man is actually attached to the King of Wands. There may be a trusted mentor that can help you through this. And the Queen of Swords could also be there for that as well. I feel like you have a couple of different allies that can help you sort it out, but ultimately the decision sits in your court. In the deep past, there's a reminder that you have to get real with your old spending habits and any sort of limits to your resources. Don't overcommit yourself. When you say no, you may actually open up a new opportunity, and you could say yes to a new friendship, a new love interest, a new job potentially. Try not to overthink this month, but do enjoy the dreaming or the brainstorming process. That's an integral part to any sort of success, so definitely maximize that. But towards the end of the month, a decision does have to be reached for many of you, so allow for that to happen. We already talked about the King of Wands. It looks like this month you're going to be able to organize your life, others' lives. You might be tasked with planning an event. When we looked at that event, just realize that you may have some difficulties in mixing all of the personalities that are coming through in the spread. Try not to overthink and try to be kind with yourself this month. The 9 of Swords is showing that it's necessary to have enough sleep and to really try to decompress any stress that you're holding from the day, from your work, from any sort of environmental stresses that exist. The King of Swords in your environment is showing that you're really going to be well adept at communication this month. So when and if you have to be direct, I feel like you're going to know how to do it. The Knight of Wands in reverse in hopes and fears shows that you may have a perceived roadblock this month. Someone may say no, they may challenge you. You do show up as being able to deal with this and probably overcome it. Try not to get defensive, and when and if you decide to discuss any sort of feedback with them, just remember again, kindness goes a long, long way. The outcome card is showing that there's a big shift. Many of you are starting and ending things, and there may be a couple of things that are coming to an end this month. Embrace that because it feels like this change is inevitable and indeed might be part of a one-year cycle for many of you. Really make sure that there exists a balance between both your health and your wealth. Is the amount of energy you're putting in work worth any sort of difficulties you're having in your health, whether it's sleep issues or feelings of stress or even physical manifestations of that, whether it's tightness of muscles or something else, or even getting sick? You need a little bit more balance, many of you, and there may be a choice, a trade-off between pay and freedom. And this is showing me with the World card and the Ace of Pentacles that if you took a leap of faith, many of you may be able to recover whatever initial loss that you had. So, whenever you go out on your own, that's sometimes a choice and a risk associated with it. But if you're following your heart and the passion with whatever it is that you're trying to do on this planet, it's probably a wager worth doing. You're going to have to weigh out what makes sense for you and your family, especially if there's other people involved. When we look at love and relationships this month, remember that you can't force it. And if you don't feel it, you have to honor that and speak your mind. That's why that Queen of Swords was coming through. Ultimately, there's a lot of change. So if you have to walk away from a person, a place, or a thing this particular month, as we look at the next year, it looks like many of these things are going to be replaced or enhanced by something beyond your expectations. But it's important for you to be clear on what you want. That clarity will help everything be more organized, and it's also going to help you attract opportunities, people, and places that are going to kind of bring you closer to your goals. So that brings your monthly reading to a close this month. I hope that it gave you what you needed to navigate the challenges and the blessings that are coming through for this month. If you ever feel like you want to dig a little bit deeper into something that I covered or talk about something different, you can schedule an appointment with me if you'd like. You can do that by simply clicking on the first card in the video or the first link below it. This will allow you to go to my booking site and you can check out rates and availability there. If that makes sense, I look forward to chatting with you. Otherwise, I mentioned earlier that everything here is fan supported. There's a couple of ways that you can support me. One of them is by giving a donation, and you can do this by clicking on the second card or the second link. This will take you to my website, and you can either do a one-time donation, $1 for instance for the whole year, or if you'd like to do something on a more continual basis, you can join me on Patreon and choose any amount that feels right for you. What this allows me to do is to set up time on my calendar to make these videos. Each and every one takes about a day apiece and about 12 days per month for all 12 videos. So everyone that has donated in the past, thank you so much. This video was made possible by you. And if you would like to make a difference in the future, you can click on that link today and help me make the next set of videos. If you've either supported me in the past or just aren't at a place where you feel like or are able to donate, there's another way you can make an impact. The easiest way, of course, is to like and subscribe if you haven't already done that, but you can also click on the third link and the third card, and this will take you to my website where you can join me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also subscribe to my newsletter if you would like. And if you really feel moved by the content here and you want to advocate, please share it on those social media networks. This will make the biggest impact of anything because I really want to reach as many people as possible, empower them, and create light workers, teachers, and enlightened people on the planet. That's why I show up every month. And when you do that, it helps me. So thank you so much for spreading the word, for advocating, and most importantly, for working on yourself. To that end, I'd like to close now with the Destiny card, which is all about rebirth. We don't have to wait for death and rebirth in the whole cycle of reincarnation to reinvent ourselves. I think you have a chance this month to begin a new process of reinvention. I mentioned earlier that it takes time, and I often kind of use the analogy of a big ship. You can't just turn the wheel really fast and hope that it'll go in a direction like that. It takes time to move it. And that's why I'm encouraging you to sort of get that long-term vision. What's the next 2, 3, 4, even 5 years look like? Once you have that, you can start this gradual reinvention And what'll happen is one day you'll wake up and it will have already kind of happened, and everyone around you will wonder how you did this. You're going to know that you put in the work and that you made this happen. If you look at someone like J.K. Rowling or any really impressive person, even Oprah Winfrey, they worked their way up. They had other jobs. They chased after their dreams. One day they realized it and they seemed like an overnight success, but it wasn't. It was hard work, and it was never giving up on that crystal vision that they were holding in their hands. So don't give up on yourself. You're at the precipice of something new, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it all works out for everybody. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your journey. I wish you the best now and always. Much love, light, and abundance. I'll see you again next month. Until then.